Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, May 30th, and I'm so happy to welcome you to Saturday Morning Sketches with Brenda. And so I'm going to make sure I'm up on my computer screen. It's Saturday. And turn the volume off. I'm doing something today that I have wanted to do for quite some time, and that is show you how to redo to reimagine, more or less. I've been using that word since way back. A kit, a simple page kit. And I am reimagining the Your Own Way Simple Page Kit 3 from this year. I love this kit, and I actually bought extra because I knew that I would be using this kit a lot. I love the elements, I love the papers. I don't know if you know, but I designed all the simple page kits for Creative Memories this year. So I, of course, love the design. But I wanted to show you, if you aren't familiar with simple page kits, they come with this sheet on the front with the sketch. They also tell you some coordinating cardstocks, a sheet of stickers, and then 2 base pages that are ready to go. And this year we've added ink splatters to kits 1 through 3, and kits 4 through 6 have some blending in them. So there's a lot of ink techniques in them already built in. And then you have your sheet that you cut apart. So that is what you would use to cut apart. Now, when I take them apart, one of the first things I do is I look at the colors that are with their cardstock. I'd already chosen some pictures, some s'mores, my little great nieces and nephews making s'mores. I'd already chosen these pictures to use. I found a sketch. I just went into my Creative Motivation binder and pulled out a sketch from June 2024, and I think I'll use this one loosely. Nothing is ever permanent. And then I went and chose some papers, and of course I'm going to use white base for my layout, so I've got white, and I picked out some blues, Cornflower and Songbird Blue. I'm not a fan of green, so I'll just go with the green that's in the kit. But I did find some other papers in case I want to use. These 3 are from the Vivid Melodies 2 that just came out in the Cornflower packet. And then this is from Your Own Way, the paper pack Your Own Way. And all of those papers are formulated to match what comes in the simple page kit, or vice versa. The simple page kits are designed to match Your Own Way. So I'm going to have perfect matches. And this was a nice subtle green for me. And then I went ahead and grabbed some stickers from Vivid Melodies 2 and some tags and titles from Your Own Way. So I just have a bunch of stuff. I don't know how it's going to come together yet, but we're going to see. That's what this is all about. Good morning, everybody. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do when I reimagine a kit is I am actually going to cut it apart. Now, you might wonder, why would you cut apart a simple page kit? They're really useful, you know, and this is a nice design. They use some beautiful papers on this, and that's a really nice design. What if you have 1 or 2 extra? When I like a kit, I always buy extra ones, because I know I can cut them apart and do something else with them. So basically I'm just lining this up and cutting it apart. Oh, I got a little green on there. I'm gonna cut that little sliver. I love our trimmer because I can cut little slivers. And all of these pieces, or most, sometimes I don't use all the pieces, will be used in my reimagined layout. Okay. Another little sliver out of there. You know what I want to do? I want to flip my mat. So I'm going to grab, you can always tell when your mat needs flipping if it's starting to have some deep grooves in there. And I'd rather just flip and buy another mat. See how nice and flat it is? So I'm flipping it over to the number 3 side. I don't try to get as much use as I can out of a mat. When it feels like it's too deep in the cut, then I just go ahead and I move it, because you're not going to get nice cuts if you have a dull blade or anything like that. Oh, that cuts so much nicer, you guys. You wouldn't believe it was like butter. So, you know, sometimes it is the fact that we need to trim. So then I have this nice piece with splatter on it. So now I'm going to do the other 2 pieces. And I'll try, is my volume not on? I've got it up all the way. Is anyone having trouble hearing? Besides Debbie? Tell me if you're having trouble hearing. I'll adjust my microphone. It's all the way on. It's all charged up for the morning. No, you're not having trouble, Dabney? Okay, I can hear you. Good. All right. So, I'm just going to go here. I can't tell you what a difference it makes just to cut that, turn that mat over. I always worry that my microphone runs out of charge. No, the microphone's right under my mouth. Okay, so I don't know that there's a way I can get it any closer even. Okay. I think we all have so many different devices, and it just all matters. Okay. Now I have the base sheets cut apart. Now I'm going to cut apart this cut apart sheet. And I'm cutting it on this side because I am not going to cut it apart like this unless I want to when I'm doing my layout. I may very well want to. Okay, I've got those all cut apart for now, and I am going to look at what I've got. I should have 2 of these and 4 of these little strips, and I've got an idea for these inked ones. Okay. All right. Now, let's pull off that sketch that I grabbed from Virtual Crop Sketches right here. I'm not going to necessarily do all that. I don't like to cover up the back of my pages with pattern. You know that about me. But what we have in here is a background, and then a 5.5 by 11, a 6 by 9, and a 6 by 2 on both of these, and a 5.5 by 11. The 5.5, I like the 6 by 9, but I would need to use cardstock for that, and so we can alter that a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take these two, pretend they're my 6 by 9. Remember, when you use a sketch, it's all for inspiration. It's not necessarily for doing exactly. Now I'm going to bring this up about an inch so that you can see it. I've got my big mat out today because when I'm doing 2 pages, I like the big mat. All right, so your whole assignment this week, if you follow along with Saturday sketches, is not necessarily to do the same thing I'm doing. You can if you wish, but to take one of those kits that you might have extra of and take them apart. Okay, I've got a little green on there, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. I hope you are all having a nice start to the summer. It's been very warm here this week, which is welcome after all that cold spring weather we had. Today is a little cloudy, which is why my video might look a little different. Okay. All right, so we've got these 2 pieces here, and we're going to pretend those are our 6 by 9s of that sketch, or I may not even look at the sketch again. I might just keep going. Oh, I like that though too. So this piece is 8 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut that in half to 2 4 by 4 pieces. And then this piece is 4 inches. So I'm going to cut this into 2 by 12s for right now. Okay? All right, let's get that darker blue on the inside. I like that dark blue on the inside. And then let's see about this green. I might want to cut that green even thinner. The whole thing about reimagining a simple page kit is just doing what you want to do. Making it your own. I think I'll cut these down to 10 inches. Take 2 inches off. So I have 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. The other great thing when you're reimagining something is that however it turns out is how it turns out. You're not making any mistakes when you cut. You're not doing anything wrong. You don't have to follow a sketch. You can look at the sketch for inspiration. Tracy, I am using number 3. This one right here, Your Own Way, number 3. because I've got those kind of fun pictures. Now, I like that on the outside. Let's cut some photo mats for these kiddos' pictures, and I'm going to use Cornflower. And I cut my photo mats most of the time to 1/8 inch larger. So if I have a 4x6 picture, I cut it to 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. I don't mat my photos on the cardstock first. I just don't. You see a lot of people doing that. However, I like the idea of having extra so that I can use my white gel pen on these pages. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these at 6 1/2 by 4 1/2. And I can get 3 of those out of 1 sheet of paper. I need 4. Oh, see that cornflower blue looks really beautiful with these colors. I just love blue. It's my favorite color. And it's easy to see why. I'm going to put all the scraps over there because I may very well use them. Now we have 6 1/2, and then I need to cut it to 4 1/2. And I need 1 more sheet to make a 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. Don't be so afraid to use your cardstock and your supplies that you are stingy about how you cut and what you do. It's okay to have extra scraps and to just put them in a bin by your desk. I use mine all the time. So here we have our 4. And I think I want to put them across like this. Okay, now we've got that started. Let's look at the pictures on there. I want them to pop even more. So here is where I'm going to add a white mat behind those photos. Now I don't think the white pieces I cut from the layout are big enough. So I need to grab some more white. I know we all like to make sure that we have just, that we get the most we can out of our scrapbook supplies. And I appreciate that a lot. I do appreciate that. But I also know that, for instance, I can only refer to my friends. I also know that all of my friends have a lot of scrapbook supplies and have a lot of paper. So let's use it. Let's make sure that we use our paper. And if you feel funny that you don't have enough cardstock, or like I use a lot of white. I bought a lot of white in this sale going on this weekend because I don't like to be without white. And that nice bright white that we have is it's so smooth and so pretty, and it just pops everything out. I'm reaching for another piece of white. Okay. I always feel like I want to use as much as I can. You're welcome, Tracy. Hi, Kate. And you know what? There's going to be more paper. There's going to be more pages the whole thing. Now I want you to see what a difference this makes. Jet's little blue shirt, and if you put that on there, look at how that emphasizes the picture even more. So I'm going to go ahead and get these pictures mounted on here. I'm still thinking about doing something for the background, so I haven't adhered that down because I have an idea. I love the way the splatters are built into these kits because I don't have to do any extra splattering if I don't want. Oh, this is going to be a cute page. These little kids are so cute. I love them so much. Yeah, I really love seeing the kids on we go on a yearly camping trip, and I know some of them aren't going to make it this year, so my husband and I are going to have to make some trips to see them. My nieces and nephews have raised such beautiful children, and they're such kind kids. I like that I can say that. Jen, I like double mats too, and I think they do a lot for a page. I think they really add that frame that we need, almost as if the photo was going in a frame. So a simple page kit, when I sit down and do a simple page kit, they usually take me about 15 minutes. They're just so well put together by Creative Memories, and the whole idea of having the trimming on the back, you just sit down and it's almost mindless. What I want to tell you is that's exactly how the album kits are. So now we have 5 album kits. We have On the Bright Side, Global Getaway. Help me, everybody, with all the names. Bundle of Joy. Maybe we only have 4. Well, there seems to be another one in there. Natural Beginnings. And then now we just came out with Perfect Match. So that's exactly what those album kits are. If it feels daunting to you that it's a whole album kit, then you've got to really embrace this simple page kit because it is so easy. I sat down at a retreat and did a whole album. I did the whole Bright Side album, plus put photos on them. So I need to get those pages in a book and do a walkthrough so that you can see what it looks like. Now, here's where I was thinking of doing something different. I'm going to take these green pieces and I'm going to do them together because I want them to have equal dovetails. And I'm going to dovetail the end of them. Okay, let's put this on here. So tell me in the comments, do you like this small tape runner? The one that fits in your hand? You know, this one here, I'll show you. This one right here. Or do you like the jumbo? I really love the jumbo one. I don't have to take as much tape. I don't have to refill it quite as often. So now I'm going to take a microtip scissors and I'm going to dovetail the ends of these. I put these two together so I would have the same dovetails. Now it's really important when you dovetail that you use the tip of the scissors and not go in like this. You're going to get too long of a dovetail. So you want to go in just short, okay? You can always cut more dovetail. And you know what? If it's not exactly in the center, you can always even it out too. But just use that tip. So I'm going to cut in there, and then I'm going to do these one by one. And that's the easiest way to dovetail. Now I'm not quite sure if I want to put that all the way to the bottom or if I want to cut it off. So I'm just going to leave it for a second. Dovetails add a little bit of whimsy to a layout, and I like that. Now, I did bring out a punch to make banners. So this one was, do you remember Hit the Road? Hit the Road came with 4 of these small street sign punches. So I do like that. Now let me see how I want to do this then. Or if I want to go up and down. I think I'm going to leave that green almost all, it's going to be like end up being 11 3/4 inches. So I'm going to take a 1/4 inch off the end. Now an 1/8 inch is this second line. This first line on the left is the cutting line. The second line is 1/8 of an inch. And I do ask you to cut 1/8 inch strips a lot in my workshops. And then the end of the gray is 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take a 1/4 of an inch off. So you know an easy way to find a 1/4 and an 1/8 inch on your trimmer. Oh, you know, Tracy, I have pretty bad arthritis right here in my hand, and it's bothering me a lot this morning. And I find it a lot easier to hold this jumbo, and it's not heavy. And so I like that it is not heavy for me, and it's a lot easier. Whereas if I use the small one all the time, I'm constantly bending that part of my hand that I'm so mad at for having arthritis. So you got that little spiel too. I'm mad at my hand for having arthritis. I haven't determined what I'm doing here yet. I kind of like all of it. I like the green stripe on top of the blue, so I'm going to move that for a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and put this light blue down. And I might even cut that green shorter. We'll see. We'd cut this at 10, so I kind of eyeballed it, and it's got about 1 inch at the top and about 1 inch at the bottom. Now let's bring those little cute faces out here again. Oh, see, that I like a lot. Okay, this is good though too. It's my little Lukey. So cute. Her face is so determined while she's roasting that marshmallow. Do you see how that green also helps? What's going on here? That's why we use repositionable. Let's turn it the other way and see if that helps. There we go. See how that green kind of offsets the blue matte then? And then when we've got this matte over here into the white, that really looks good too. There's little Jack. These kids aren't so little anymore in my jet. Yep. Okay. So I think I like these green behind here a lot. And how far do I want them up? I think I'm going to take another 3/4 of an inch off. Judy, oh, you know what? Detail oriented to a fault sometimes. It really matters to me how the things end up on my pages. Oh, is it your first time watching me, Judy? Oh, that's so nice. Yes, the repositionable does stick down. It is made to move a little bit for you, so you can move things around if you get something crooked like I did, but then it's going to stick. And you'll know because you can test it if you want. I did when I first started using repositionable tape. I taped something and the tape actually turns purple when it becomes permanent. And it's harder to get off, and it's going to ruin your paper if you get it, you know, if you try to get it off. So this little pop of green, oh Debbie, I'm sorry. So it's no fun getting old. I'm not old. You're not old. We're not old. Okay, I like that. Yep, you're gonna find in the details, like for me, it was putting that white matte behind the pictures that is 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, just to give it that little bit of pop. And then there we have those green mats. Now remember, this started like this, which is beautiful, and you can do your layout like that. But I've done this layout, and so that's why I wanted something different. Now, let's see how these look on the ends. If something doesn't work in a simple page kit, you know, or if you decide against it, and you have that leftover and you're thinking, well, what am I going to do? Oh, look at that. What am I going to do with that leftover? You're going to put it in your own way paper, in your paper project folder with your own way paper, because all of this matches your own way. Okay, these are the little strips that I cut off the paper. And I wish you could see a little closer, because I didn't quite get that cut all the way in the center, and I could show you how I'm fixing it. I'm just going a little deeper with the other side. And that's why you start out by going just a small amount. You can always cut deeper, but you cannot take away something you've cut. Okay, I like that behind there. Yep, that adds another whole level of something. So let me get these green pieces down. And they're going to go about in the center. So, you know, when I started to tell you about the album kits, you can certainly do the album kits, and I do a lot of them, exactly the way they're shown to do. because it's fast and it's easy and it gets your whole album done. However, if you want something a little bit different, you can cut those pages apart like this and go ahead and make them your own. Gina, you hardly throw anything away. Yeah. I made a layout the other day that I posted on here. Did you see the two cute little girls walking hand in hand? Those were two of my great nieces. And someone said to me on there that knows me well, I'm surprised you use scraps. So Christina, if you're on this call, did you hear what I just said about the Your Own Way scraps? I know, Debbie. I know. Yes, Shirley. So if I have a 4x6 picture, I will do a 4 1/8 by 6 1/8 piece of cardstock to mat behind it. I don't, for me it's a little fussy. Not if you've been doing it all your life by putting your paper on your picture on your paper and then cutting it on the trimmer, that is good for you. That is not how I learned 30 some years ago, and so I need to cut those mats first. So this mat is 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, and my larger mat is 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. So I think I had Lukey over here on the green. I thought that looked cute. All right, so we've got this going. Now I've got a little excess up here after I set these pictures down. Remember, I have 2 more of these strips, so you might see me do something else with them too. But I'm thinking about blending some ink. Now I've got that splattered paper, but I have an idea for that. You see this splattered paper that I cut off? I'm going to take my little heart punch, and this was in Hit the Road too. And I'm going to punch right in that splattered area so that I have some splattered hearts. You can see it better on here. Okay. You can kind of get your splatter in where you want it. And so now I have some splattered hearts. Now, I'll leave those because those are going to be embellishment. I'm thinking about this other splattered piece that I have and how if I cut that to like 1/4 of an inch, I think this is 1/2 an inch. I would think it would be 1/2 an inch. Yeah, it's 1/2 an inch. So let's say I cut this splattered piece down to 1/4 of an inch. I've got a little green on there, so I want to take that off. And I'm going to cut this at that was 1/2. I'm going to cut this at 1/4. Remember, 1/4 of an inch is the end of the gray cutting mat. Doesn't that make life easy? Makes life really easy. Okay, so let's cut this one at 1/4 of an inch as well. Now, let me tell you that if you wanted to use in your layouts this paper that you cut off, which I believe is, it's 3.5. So you could always use smaller photos too. You could do 3x4 pictures and use this as your mat. So there's all kinds of possibilities with this, with simple page kits when you cut them apart. Now, I'm gonna cut these down a little bit so that that splatter is at the end. I don't really care how much I cut them down right now. I just want the splatter at the end. And I'm going to leave them straight for a second because I want to test something. Okay, now I'm going to go in here and cut a little tiny dovetail. And it's tiny. Brenda, when you do a whole album kit, do you have trouble finding pictures to go on every page? Well, I'm very selective about, you know, like I bought Bundle of Joy because I've mentioned on here before that my son's album came apart and I'm redoing it. And so I'm going to use some Barely Art glue here. And so that will obviously be a full baby picture. Natural Beginnings, I'm doing my parents' album. My mom and dad from when they met or were teenagers. I'm doing their album in there. So it'll be nice to have all those pages. I think that if I didn't need all 16 pages in an album, I think that I would probably just not use them and take them out to use them as simple page kits elsewhere. Okay, I gotta pull that up and I gotta do it in a hurry before this glue dries or it won't move. I used On the Bright Side for retreats and things like that with my friends, and so it's going to be easy to fill that one. In fact, I think I have it full. And Global Getaway, I think that I will probably use that in bits and pieces here and there, you know, but use the album for a specific trip. That will be very nice for our trip to Italy and Spain. So I think that, you know, if I don't have enough pictures, I think that I eventually will, by using them in other ways, by using the layouts in other ways. And now that you know you can reimagine, you can certainly use them throughout any books that you do. But Brenda, you raise a good question because I'm not a huge picture taker. Like, I don't go on a trip and I'm not gonna be the one that's gonna have, you know, 3,000 pictures when I get home. I'm very particular about the pictures I take, and at the end of every day on a vacation, I eliminate photos. So let's say I'm going through and I have, for Tahiti for instance, four or five pictures of stingrays that we were swimming with, and some of them were blurry. I'm going to get rid of those blurry ones right away. and just hang on to them. The beauty of deleting a photo is if you come home within 30 days and you decide you want that photo, you can use it because you can take it out of your deleted photos. But I like to clean that up before I even get home. And I was taught that by a friend of mine in one of her classes, and I just will stick by that forever because it's just such a good habit to get into. And then you're not so overwhelmed, because sometimes I've come home with things and been so overwhelmed with all the photos that I have that I don't do anything. So it's really, you have to find your balance in what you like to do. But don't feel stuck that you have to use all the photos, you know, because that is not something that I teach, you know. And you don't have to listen to me if you're out there and you like to use every single photo. You don't have to listen to me. But I think when we tell a story with a few good photos, we're much better off in the end. For instance, I had a lot of pictures of these kids and their s'mores. I picked out the best ones. Because they're not my kids, I put the pictures then on a jump drive, so their parents will have them one day if they want them. But I picked out the best, and then I enlarged them so that we're looking right at their faces. Because when I open my book, why wouldn't I want to look at that face? I'm going to want to look at the face and not all the background. Or little lyric here, how she's so determined to get that marshmallow right. I love that. I love that about photos. And that's why I do what I do. I scrapbook to get the feeling as well as the good picture. So I'm just using, when I use my big mat, I can't use my layout ruler, so I have my other one. And I was so busy yapping. I think I have a 1/2 inch on that side. And they're 3 inches from the bottom. And then, Judy, you had asked about the repositionable turning permanent. And the only reason I use whatever tape runner I use is because it's the one sitting in front of me. They both are equally wonderful tape runners. And if one is sitting right here and I have to reach for another one, then I'll grab this one. So I'm going to move these hearts out of the way. I don't want to lose those. Those are such cute little hearts. And let's get these so that we can now look at what that splattered piece did here. And then when I put those splattered hearts on, it's going to look even better. So now I also have a little bit of that light blue paper left. I don't have much paper left at all. I have the white, which I will save in my Your Own Way kit to use as mats for 3x4 photos. And then I have cardstock, but you know, there's always a lot of cardstock. I have a couple of these pieces, and I have a couple of these. And then I also have these, which are going to go right in my Your Own Way paper, because look at this. You guys, look at how that matches that. So when I put this back in my project folder for Your Own Way, I'm going to put these little edges in there too, along with this splattered piece. and this splattered piece, unless I use them somewhere here. I don't know. So now let's take a look at what embellishments we have. Oh, they're so cute. I love clouds. I love sun. Well, you know, Debbie, when my mother passed away a few years ago, well, it's been 6 years now, but we got a lot of their stuff, a lot of their pictures and stuff, and I want to put an album together of them, and I probably won't make one for each of my sisters. I have 4 sisters, but I can always photocopy the pages. So it's nice. Yeah, Brenda, that's exactly what you do. Try that next time you go on vacation. Try at nighttime, you know, when you go to bed and you might pick up your phone and scroll. I pick up my phone and go to my photos and look through the day and delete those that are blurry or not helpful to me. Let's see, I think I'm going to put this sun and clouds up here first. I'm going to do this. You can do it on one side or the other side. It all depends upon where you like to have that sun. Know that when you put a sticker on something, it's there. So I've got a little torn off. I'll just turn my sun. You can hear how sticky. And then I'm going to take this smaller cloud, and I don't want to go right across. That I lose a little balance that way. The sun. And then I'm going to put some 3D foam on this. I think if we don't throw things away sometimes, you know, like if I didn't go through my cardstock and just get rid of it sometimes, I think that we'd be overrun by stuff. And here's how I feel anyway. I would be overrun with stuff, and I may not scrap because it paralyzes me to have so much stuff. And so, that is one of the big reasons that I go through and get rid of it. If you go to retreats, you can always go to retreats and bring your scraps and tell people take them, you know, or they're going in the garbage. Now, you noticed I left the backing on there. This is a sticker. I don't want that sticker to bend down in the book. So I'm going to leave that backing on, and then I'm going to put some powder. Powder might be getting empty. I use it so much. I'm going to put some powder over this so that the sticky part is no longer sticky. The anti-stick tool is a nice tool. Now, this part isn't sticky anymore, but it will be sticky. Oopsie, I pulled that right off. Oh, but that was kind of a blessing. Then I tucked it under. Oh, some things happen for a reason. And now I'll take these off, knowing that the rest of my sticker won't stick, just where I've got the foam adhesive. Okay, so then I have a little more balance because I put the clouds at an angle a little bit. It helps to do that. Oh, these butterflies are just so pretty. Now, I also want you to understand that scrapbooking is subjective. In other words, it doesn't matter if a flower is growing into a cloud because, or up near the sun, because it's about the aesthetic you're trying to find in the layout. It's not about where things are. It's about what you're trying to achieve on your scrapbook page. Now I'm going to put powder on this butterfly wings, on these butterfly wings, so that they don't stick down, because I'm going to bend it up. I think I want the purple one over here, and you'll understand why in a second, because this one is yellow, and I didn't want a yellow one by the sun when I, you know, kind of balance that color out too. I'm really pleased with how I've redone this page. And I'm going to put this butterfly right up here. By the time I post this for you to look at later, you'll see gems on there. I forgot to put gems on my desk, so I won't go digging for those now. Now we've got some really nice titles. Pure Joy, Happiness. They're so determined looking, they don't look like they're having pure joy, do they? But they are. I'm going to balance that purple over here and put that, and not quite, not exactly centered on either photo, but a little bit over on the left one and the rest of it on the right. And then I'm going to bring Pure Joy down here. I'll tell you, s'mores are serious business. That has got to be. Okay, there's some flower stickers that I don't know. I've got little lyric here, one girl. I don't know for sure where I want this flower sticker. I may not use it for now, but it can go right in my Your Own Way stash. And I don't know that I want the other two stickers either. These little guys might be nice. It's kind of like a I didn't stick that down hard, so I can pick it up. I'm going to wait on those. Those are more finishing type things. I've got these little hearts, and I'm going to put 3D foam on the back of those. Sometimes, and for me, oftentimes, less is more. I don't need a lot of paper. I don't need a lot of embellishment. What I need are these 4 photos. That's the most important thing to me when it comes to a scrapbook. And so I'm really careful about how much I add, making sure that no focus is coming off the pages. And with little boys, I will use flowers on a little boy layout. That's not a problem. But Can you even stand their faces? They're so cute. You can see the marshmallow coming out of his mouth. Those eyelashes. And Luke's face, and it all just makes me happy. And so I guess when I'm old, even if my son doesn't take my books one day, I guess when I'm old, what I'll have to look back on is the photo. I'm probably not, when I'm 85, going to look at a page and say, oh, I should have put that over to the left 2 inches, or I should have put that over to the right, and that didn't balance off very well. And I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be so happy to have the memories in a book that it's not going to matter to me. Look at, aren't these hearts cute? And that's what I want to instill to all of you most of all. Is just put your memories in a book, because that is the most important thing you can do. Doesn't matter how they get there. It matters. It doesn't matter if you use a scrap journal or 12 by 12 pages. It just matters that you put those memories down so that you have them when you're old. I always say they're for me when I'm old, or the people coming after you have them, right? That's the most important thing. Right here, I'm going to draw some journaling lines, and I use a ruler to draw them with a journaling pen. I'm going to bring that up about 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to go 1/4 inch between lines. And I always start with 3 lines, and then if I need to add another one, I could add another one down here and another one up there, but that gives me a good amount of space to start with. You can also journal on the white space, but I had a little bit of an idea for what I was going to do in that white space, because we have that nice splatter on the paper. And you're probably thinking, why on earth is she going to splatter now? She's done with the page. I'm going to cover it with scraps. And I'm going to splatter that corner. So for that, I'm going to take my paintbrush and I need an empty embellishment bag on this mat. So keep your embellishment bags, you'll use them for this. And I'm going to take some Summer Sky ink and rub on there. And you won't be able to see that at all. I can hardly see that. And some water, just a spritz. Rub that around. Make sure I have enough on my paintbrush. A lot of times, if you guys see splattering on my layouts, I've done it after the fact. And I've done it just like this, just like adding it, putting that, I need some more water. Putting that paper over everything to protect it, and then just splattering. Summer Sky is so light, but I like this color so much. And there we're getting some bigger drops. And see, you've got it protected so you don't have to worry that it's getting on anything. Okay, Now I'm going to take all these scraps and see, now I have just that little subtle blue in the corner. And I'm going to put this on the other page. Protect everything. And I think I need a little more ink in here. What you're basically doing with your ink is making a palette of paint. And you can just tap it with your finger too if you want. I can't do that anymore because of that finger. So I just tap it on my finger really nicely like that. And there it is. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. The great part about using that is that you can just throw it away. I have a little bit of ink left here and not one to waste ink. Okay. And then I'm just going to wash my brush later on. It's going to be fine. And I've got that little bit of splatter in the corners that's just so subtle in there. I'm going to have my journaling right here. And I have redone a simple page kit. Started from this, okay, and went all the way to this. And it's got just enough on there for me. And what I think I'll do in on this white is put little dots in the corner of the photos and then just draw a line to frame that even more. So I'll do this on all the photo mats. Try to hold your pen. When you use your white gel pen, try to hold it upright as much as possible and not get that lean in there like when we are writing, because that's when you start running out of ink. So you want it to be upright. That one didn't quite go on the end, so I need to make it a little bigger. Don't use your ruler when you do this. Just use your hand, and however it ends up in your free hand is going to be perfect. That one really got crooked. Okay. So I'll do that on the other page too before I post it so that you can see how it's done on both. But what that did was frame those off even a little bit more. And I like that. It really brought out their faces. So there you go. That is Saturday sketches today, and I hope that you really enjoyed watching this and seeing what can be done with this simple page kit and using up supplies. And you got my talk about getting rid of things so that you're not so overwhelmed in your craft room. So that's it for me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and that it's warm and sunny where you are. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.